Okay, so in Kuroko no Basket this week, it was a pretty good episode because we had the comeback from Kaijo and Kisei saying fuck it and activating his perfect copy, which he reveals that he can copy all of the Generation of Miracles, or at least most of them, because if you notice, there were two Generation of Miracles that he did not copy, and they were Akashi, because we have yet to see his abilities in the anime, and Kuroko. Of course, I consider Kuroko a Generation a Miracle member. Um, his abilities are pretty OP too, but he did not copy those yet, at least. So the game has been decided, and it's Kaijo versus Seirin in the semis, and you have Shutoku versus Rakuzan. A couple of the other things was that Haizaki, we saw a little bit more with Haizaki, how he kind of steamrolled over some casual basketball punks, I guess, I don't know, when he was in middle school, and we saw that after he was told to quit from Akashi, he went to burn his basketball shoes, and Kuroko tried to stop him, not because he liked Haizaki, but just simply because of the respect for the game itself. But he ends up burning it anyway, and when met in this current time, he does not burn them. Um, for reasons I'm guessing because he starts to enjoy basketball or whatever. But the big thing here after the game was Aomine freaking Daiki decking Haizaki after dodging a punch from him. That was unbelievable. When I saw that shit in the manga, I went nuts. Because Aomine is my favorite character. And watching him just completely deck Haizaki was amazing. Uh, so yeah, because he's out of the inner high or the Winter Cup, not inner high. I'm still thinking of Slam Dunk. um, just watched and read Slam Dunk recently, but the Winter Cup, he's out of the Winter Cup, so it doesn't matter. He's not going to get disqualified. So he just let loose on him, and it was awesome. So I mean, that was it. It was a pretty basic episode. Pacing was good. Everything else was pretty good. Like the progression was good. Um, character development for Kisei was pretty cool. I mean, Haizaki had a little development. Even Kuroko with yelling out Kisei, or like I believe in you, Kisei-kun, or whatever. I don't fucking know. But I like when Kuroko yells because his voice actor is like sounds really cool when he yells, which is ironic because Kuroko almost never yells except for when he got mad at Hanamiya, and I think when he was doing that in Yosen maybe. I can't remember which game it was, but I guess I mean that's the episode. It was pretty solid episode. Uh, yeah, that's about it. The ending's pretty good too. Actually, I forgot to mention I like the opening a lot, but the ending's pretty good too. But yeah. Okay, so now let's go to JoJo. In this episode, it was pretty funny because it was pretty much a slapstick, uh, where the two brothers are trying to kill, our Stardust Crusaders, but they can't for X, Y, and Z reasons. And it looked like my prediction was correct about the stand. It was the fact that you could predict the future, but you couldn't really alter it in any way, or could only tell like a general future. So, and that really worked to their advantage, where they could only tell like bits and pieces, but they couldn't connect all the dots for that reason. So the kid didn't have that much part, even though his stand was much more interesting. It was more so the older brother whose stand was to be able to change appearance, but he couldn't change his clothes, ironically. Um, and that's what ultimately was pretty funny. Just how they believed it was Jotaro this whole time. Although I thought Joseph would have figured it out, but then again, I'm not surprised that part three is making Joseph look like an idiot still, because so far in part three, it just seems like his age has really gotten the better of him. Even though he's a Hamon user, and he's supposed to be able to have a longer life with Hamon, right? It's supposed to keep his youth. Wasn't that a thing in part one and part two? Especially like Lisa. Lisa looked so young and was actually Joseph's freaking mother. Yeah. Yeah, she was like well over 50, right? Um, yeah, she was like 50 years old, and she looked like she was like 20 something, like 25, 26, maybe early 30s. Um, but I guess I'm digressing here because it was kind of funny because there was the whole poison thing with the black tea, and they were just Joseph was being smart here, where he was like, we really shouldn't take anything from anybody, but we'll take the cola bottle unopened, and the fact that it wasn't cold codbosh that whole thing, and I totally get that because I always want frickin' soda cold or else GTFO. Uh, so they take the black tea, but they spit it out because of Iggy going nuts, and so the prediction was not wrong. It was just faulty to the point like they thought that they were gonna die, but it didn't work that way. And the second prediction showed Jotaro with being split in half with an explosion, which doesn't make a ton of sense here because he was wearing Jotaro's clothing, but the guy could not change his clothes to match Jotaro's. He had his own clothing. So to me, that book was very vague and was actually wrong on some level because he was not wearing that clothes. It was not Jotaro. It was that guy. Um, so he plants the bomb in the orange, which is pretty cool. And he tries his absolute hardest by faking being sick and then actually getting sick from all the stress. And then they threw out the friggin' orange, and he like steps on it. It was just like pure slapstick. Uh, very very like Pink Panther esque, and I enjoy it every now and then. I think sometimes too much slapstick could be a pain in the ass. It's just a little too much. But this was just the right touch because it was only one episode, and yeah, it just reminded me a lot of Pink Panther and certain things like that. So I guess that's it. It was kind of interesting that they saw his clothes at the end, but they didn't make the deduction. Again, showing Joseph not being very smart, even though he was smart in the beginning of this episode, which was nice. It was a pretty good episode. It was kind of funny. I enjoyed it. I forget what the next episode's preview was, but I think it was like a pretty powerful opponent or something like that. Yeah, no shit. It was like Anubis or something like that. And of course, if you say Anubis, it automatically means it's probably very powerful. Anything involving Egypt and saying Anubis usually means it's freaking strong. So, anyways, I guess that's it. It was a good episode. Um, Always looking forward to more.